Hi everyone, it's Jem with ChappyPlans. Thanks for coming to see my Try It Tuesday video. I'm going to be working on part 2 of my 2025 summer album, so stick around. Hey there friends, it's Jem with ChappyPlans. I hope you're doing well whenever you watch this video. I am going to say this is quite an edited video because I kept getting my 2 days screwed up for some reason. I don't know if I didn't take enough Adderall or didn't get enough sleep or I don't know, but I kept getting the days screwed up. So I was like, wait a minute. But I'd already pre-planned the pages, right? Like which way the paper was supposed to be punched, this, that, and the other. And I just kept messing it up. So I'm going to do my best to edit this video so that it makes sense to you in the order that I actually, it'll be out of the order I created it, but I am going to have to edit it so that it's in the order that the pages are supposed to go. Hopefully that makes sense. Right now what I'm doing is taking this neon green envelope that it's actually a paper bag, it's a big envelope that all the paperwork came in for our cabin when we signed in and registered, just etiquette and the golf cart rules because we rented a golf cart, things like that. And it has our original cabin number on it, which is a whole other story. That is not the cabin we ended up staying in. So I am just I thought, why not use the actual envelope as the pocket instead of using some of my pattern papers? And then I just kept all of the papers that they gave us. I'm going to paper clip them together. I'm also going to tuck in some other bits of ephemera from the trip, like they have a rewards club, like they have at lots of places now, and we've gone several years, so I've yet to include that little pamphlet, so I put it in this pocket I made. I also have the map that they give you when you check in and shows where your campsite is, along with the tag for our cabin. So it's funny because the tag is for the second site number, not the first site number. So on the green envelope there, you'll see it says 408, but then on the blue tag it says 405, and that is because we had to move cabins, which I will get into in just a moment. And then on the front of the green envelope, I just stapled this tag from one of the items Nora purchased, or we purchased, I should say, at the gift shop. So I just stapled that to the front as well. Then just for a little extra detail and pop of color, I added these green paper reinforcers. I have tons of these. These are from Studio Calico in so many different colors. I'm like, when am I ever going to use this bright green color? And I hardly ever use these at all. So I just decided to add them just for fun. Next, I am going to work on inserting my postcards that I bought there. So I purchased a few postcards. I was really excited to be able to include those, and I just treated them like pattern paper almost. So this big brown one that says Making Memories at Jellystone Park I thought was perfect, and it's so big, so that's going to go first. And on the back side, I'm going to put a couple of photos and embellish it just a bit, and then next to it is going to go that other smaller 5x7 postcard as well. So I love being able to include pieces of ephemera from the trip. I think I've said this many times, but my family calls me a trash panda because I collect trash, aka ephemera, from wherever we go. Not that the postcards are trash, because obviously they're not. They're brand new, and they're very reasonably priced at $1.25. You can see I left the price tag right on there. I think that adds a little bit of nostalgia and fun for whenever Nora might want to go back and take a look at these albums someday. And you can see that I'm attaching the postcards with these plastic tabs that I got from Ali Edwards. So on the back of this first big postcard, I have two photos that I printed out. They're about 4x4 inches, or maybe 3.5 by 3.5, I'm not quite sure, of Nora and my husband in the pool the very first night. We were the first family to check in. Of course, Nora immediately wanted to get in the pool, which we were like, let's go. So I have a couple pictures of them. They're not the best, which is why they're small, and they're kind of like not a feature, like they're not a big blown up picture. They, aren't the best quality. No one's really looking at the camera, but I wanted to include them. And so I think this is kind of a fun way, not to hide them, but just to have them be in here, but not be like the star of the show, if that makes sense. I'm also going to use these old stickers from Heidi Swap that have a space for stamping or journaling, and I thought, well, let me bust those out and have some fun. So I decided to stamp on a couple of them. I pulled out my Paper Person shop stamp set that's got this little lounge chair with a beach umbrella and a sun, which is perfect because that's what I was doing. I was reading while Nora and Matt were in the pool. So you could see that other photo on the inside, or backside rather, of the other postcard. It's just a tiny picture of me sitting in the beach chair with my book on my lap. And then the other stamp set I'm using is an Allie Edwards, or no, sorry, a Heidi Swapp stamp set. And I just stamped Press Pause, Magic Comes in Pieces, and Pretty Happy. Then I'm also using these yellow photo corners that are really old as well, just to bring in some more yellow. And I'm going to add little bits of washi and stickers here and there, just like I said, for fun. Now I am going to go back and add a few more pieces of ephemera that I forgot to include, and I figured a good space for it would be on the postcard as well. So I will go back and do that. I don't know if that gets filmed or not, so just to give you a heads up, when you see the final flip through, you will notice that I added, it's just the pieces of our bracelets. So if you reserve a golf cart, you have to wear the golf cart bracelet at all times, and then you also have to wear the bracelet for being a registered camper in that campground the whole time you're there. So I just kept pieces of those bracelets and I included those. I just taped them to the top of the postcard as well, up above where the photo is of me by the pool with my book. That photo, I also added a couple of photo corners to, and I peeled down a bunch of layers on the chipboard and put travel vibes on that one. And then I just journaled on this little green card that says Savoring These Summer Moments. It's from Studio Calico. I wrote, after our Horrocks and BJ's run, we arrived at Jellystone by 4 and checked in. Nora immediately wanted to swim, so the three of us went to the pool. And that's basically it. I just stamped, another thing I do, I don't know if I do it now or later, I stamped Sunny on the top of the postcard, just a little tab that says Sunny. I like to add on smaller sized, I just love tabs. That's just really it. I mean, I have no excuse other than I just like the tabs, okay? But also it is not a full-sized page, so I think it's kind of fun to include those here and there. So on screen, just finishing up embellishing these two things, and then I'm going to pull out my album and do just kind of a check. I like to see how they look inside the album after I finish a page or two and make sure they flip right and all that good stuff. So I'm just going to pop them on the rings, back in the album. I like how it looks. All right, now I'm going to move on to the next page, which is in a page protector. So this one is actually a it's got two 4x6 slots because I have this giant Club Yogi Rewards sticker and I didn't want to put it anywhere else, and it's bigger than 3x4. I didn't want to trim it down, so I used a glue dot that I have. I have a bunch of these glue dots to make sure that it stayed inside the pocket without sliding all over. And then on the top left, I have the geotag felt embellishment, which I love those, and I think that it looks really cool and adds some negative space, which is needed because this is a very colorful album. So on this journaling card that I'm working on, it's got the Explore. I love that style of design there with the geometric vibes. And it is the story of our musical cabins. So I found the So Not Fun die cut from the Fun Storyteller kit. I had this I Will Remember This circle in my stash, and I also adhered the chipboard piece that says Lessons Learned from This Adventure. Then I took the alphas I've been using throughout this particular album to spell out musical cabins on the top as my title. And you will have already heard this story if you follow Project Life videos, but I just talked about how we were settled into our cabin, and then it was warm and everything, and then, we were sharing a cabin with my youngest brother-in-law and his wife, so Tully, Kit, and then their kids, Sutton and TJ, and it was warm, but we were like, oh, hopefully it cools down. Well, it didn't cool down, and 3 hours into trying to get their kids to go to bed amidst screaming and yelling, and just they were so dysregulated because it was so hot, and they had been up so late, that they ended up packing their car and leaving and driving 2 hours back home to sleep in their own home. It was pretty terrible for them. And I was really annoyed that this happened because these cabins are not cheap, and, you know, you're paying for the convenience of air conditioning. I realize that's very, like, privileged of us. But I did feel really bad for them. And so in the morning, I ended up calling or going down to the registration and talking to the manager and working everything out, which I'll get to that in a minute. But the rest of the story of Musical Cabins is that I called maintenance and I told them what happened, and he moved us down a couple of cabins to one that was unoccupied. This campsite was accessible, which, you know, obviously meant that the shower was big enough for a wheelchair to be able to go in. And unfortunately, it didn't look like it was fully cleaned when we moved in. And also, the shower head kept falling on us during the shower. It was not held upright very well, but we were thankful to have the air conditioning in our own space. Then we were like, well, if they come back in the morning, where are they going to sleep? Because it had less room. So that was a whole other thing that I was going to have to deal with. But for now, I'm talking about how by the time we actually got back into got into the new cabin, it was, and went to bed and, like, you know, had put the bed sheets back on and everything. I think it was like midnight. So it was a long first day of camp. I will tell more of that story of how we remedied everything, but first I want to let you know what I'm working on now. So on the opposite side of this page protector, I have this larger photo that I made sure was the same size as the sticker in the front of it, and it's an Nora mat at the top of the water slide area, and I decided to cut out this image from these plastic tags that says ready, set, go, because I love the fact that it makes sense for them to go down the water slide. So I stapled that to the picture. I also pulled out some old stickers. I have like a sun and some sunglasses, and I put that in a little cluster. Okay, then I'm going to work on the big photo below it, which little tiny Sutton is peeking out, and you can barely see her standing there in front of the pool. But I also decided that that was where I was going to put the patch that says Yogi Bear's Jellystone Park. And then I found this Fun Times die cut from the Fun Storyteller kit, and I put a little green label so that I could just write that we spent all afternoon at the pools because it was so hot. I will say that I'm debating reprinting the 4x6 photo because I do not love the way it turned out. I think I went overboard with the embellishing, and like I liked the idea of using the patch, but then I was like, oh, it just needs a little something else. And I think that I struggle sometimes with balancing, I don't know. I like to have an odd number of embellishments or a triangle visual. And I don't know, I kind of went overboard here. And so once I have the patch on, I'm like, oh, I know what else it needs. This die cut. I know what else it needs. Stickers. So I don't know. I might go back and reprint it and just keep it really simple and leave it blank, or add one thing. I'm not sure. But anyways, once I get that all finished, I think the last thing I'm going to be adding are some puffy stickers from my stash. They are old Paper Person Shop puffy stickers, my absolute favorite of all time. And unfortunately, Paper Person Shop is no longer in business, at least that I know of. I think sometimes she comes out with like Christmas releases or holiday releases, but they're not like regularly open anymore. And that's sad because they are my favorite. So if you know, and I've been asking this for a while, if you've ever come across any really great, simple, like star or heart puffy stickers, please let me know because I'm still on the hunt. All right. So that is going to wrap up the items, or the elements, I should say, that are going inside of the page protector. And then now I'm going to use this big pattern paper that has all these jumping off points. And I thought about a lot of different ways I could use this paper, right? Like you could take an X-Acto knife and trim out the inside of the label so that you had a fun flip up feature. You could cut them out and use them individually on different pattern papers. You could use them later on to create like a tag cluster. There's a lot of different things you could do. I decided to use the paper as is. I really like the polka dot print in the background and then the colors of each of the labels. So I printed out all these photos, the series of the 4 girl cousins jumping into the pool at the same time. and I thought that was really cute. They're not the best quality photos, but I just love the progression. And I counted, and they were supposed to all jump at the same time, but if you look at the pictures, you can tell that did not happen. So it's kind of funny, but I just think that's part of the whimsy of the story, right? So I decided that I was going to create a title up on the top label, if you will. I don't know what they're called. I'm calling them labels. I'm going to create a title up there, and then I'm going to put the other 4 photos in the order of them jumping in each label. And then I thought, ooh, let me just get really crafty and play with all my embellishments, which is like my favorite thing to do. And I'm just like listening to an audiobook and having the most fun picking out different things to layer with the photos. And so I'm using the colors of the labels to dictate what plastic pieces are going where. So I found this like whole package of little plastic pieces I had in my stash from Studio Calico. And clearly it's from a summer collection. I don't know which kit it went with. And then I had some other little asterisks, those plastic blue asterisks. And I'm going to just kind of layer them behind the photos on the left and right sides of the photos. And I do edit out quite a bit of this because there's a lot of time where I'm like sorting through my embellishments and trying to pick things and, you know, doing the embellishment shuffle, like putting them down, deciding whether or not I wanted to keep them. And so I did edit out quite a bit of that. So just keep that in mind. I was here a lot longer than this process video. But you know, I find that when I feel the creativity and like I have the motivation to craft, I need to just go and do it. And, you know, it's funny because those things come in waves. And I love that about this hobby is like I'll be really in the mood to create and craft and scrapbook. And then I will like be like, okay, I'm spent. And then I'll want to just be in my planner. So I love vacillating between the two hobbies. It's so much fun. And so anyways, I went off on a tangent. Here are some more little puffy stickers I have in my stash. And I'm going to just pull out a whole bunch of them. Some of them are from Allie Edwards. Some of them are from like clearance when Joanne was still open. R.I.P. to Joanne. They had these amazing clearance bins of stickers, and I grabbed several, and I should have got more. I don't know why I didn't. That was a big mistake on my part. And I'm just going to layer, right, because one little plastic piece on each side of the photo is not nearly enough, right? We have to add more. In this case, I do like the way it turned out with all of the extra embellishments. So I am going to layer all the plastic pieces and then take my puffy stickers and add those over the top. Part of the reason this takes a little bit longer for the process video is because I have to peel off. There's like a little tiny layer of plastic film over the die cuts, and I have to peel that off, which is always tricky. And then adding the little it's like eighth inch or 1/4 inch width double-sided tape, that can be tricky to peel off the backing as well. So that took me a little bit of time, but it was totally fine. Like I said, I was jamming out to, well, not jamming out, but I was like in the zone. I was listening to the audiobook. I actually listened to the entire thing in this day where I filmed all these pages. It's called Speak. It's very, very good. Highly recommend. I can't really get into it too much on this channel. I guess you're going to have to, or on this video, but I guess you're going to have to come and see my media journal update when I post my August media journal flip through for more details on that. So one of the last things I'm doing is adding these numbers. They're little puffy foam numbers from Citrus Twist, and I'm using them to number, right, like the order of the jump. I stamped the date at the top, and then I decided I was going to leave the little holes where they were in the labels, but I decided to punch them out and add a little bit more texture. Not that it really needed it, just by adding these little eyelets, I think they're called. Yeah, I'm using my little crocodile thing here from We Are Memory Keepers, and you just press really hard, and they squeeze around the hole that you punched, and it just makes a nice little like metal ring. And I had one for each color, so I thought it looked pretty cute and just add a little something. Next, I'm going to work on the back side of this page. So I printed out this full-size photo, my favorite picture of the younger cousins, everyone except Justin, the older one, who did not want to have a matching t-shirt. It just says Cousins Camping Crew, and then it has the year 2025. I picked them out on Etsy, and we just all ordered our own in the colors that each kid wanted. And we had them all just sitting outside the cabin, took their picture, super cute, right before we ate dinner. So the only thing I do is accidentally put on the wrong banner. So I have this felt pennant that says Adventure Awaits, and I'm like, oh yeah, let me just put this down. And then I'm like, wait a minute, that's not the one I wanted. Oopsie. So luckily it pulled up pretty easily, and I was able to just switch it out for the correct pennant, which is the olive green one that says Let's Go Exploring. I just like the green better because of the trees in the background. I just thought it lended itself a little bit more for this particular photo. Then in the top right corner, I felt like it needed a little something extra. So I just went through my chipboard and I pulled out the one that says Feeling at Home in Nature. Again, the colors work well with this picture and with the flag. And then I added a label that says Matching Summer Tees and put a few puffy stars and called this page Good. So this is where I ended up having to edit out things I did. I second guessed myself and pulled this giant photo off the back and replaced it with a whole different page, photos, embellishments, all the things. And then I was like, wait a minute, that didn't happen on this day, that happened the next day. Wait, yes it did. No, it didn't. And I went back and forth. So I tried, like I said, my best to edit out pieces and bits and pieces, and that's probably going to affect the way this video and the next video comes out, but maybe it won't. Maybe you guys will never even notice the difference, and I will just be all the wiser for, learning from my experience. Who knows? Okay. Well, I, with the magic of editing, skipped to the part where I actually am creating in chronological order of the days the next page. So I have this little tiny insert. I think it's super old, and I think it might have been even a kit created for kids maybe, or teens who wanted to scrapbook. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. But it was before my Allie Edwards and scrapbooking days. But I got it as one of the very first clearance things I'd ever purchased from her, and I'd never used it. It just says, let's make today an adventure kind of day. And I think it's like a 3x8 size. And on the back, I just enlarged the girls. They were sitting on top of the truck at dinner, waiting for dinner time. And I love the picture, and it was the perfect size to put on the back of this journaling card. So I just put some puffy stickers, and I wrote all about our day, that it was our half day together. Wasn't enough time, especially since we came all the way from New York. We always want to spend more time with family. And we squeezed as much fun as possible into Tuesday. After a full hot sunny day swimming, we all went back to our cabins to shower and get ready for dinner at Sam and Chrissy's cabin. We got to sing happy birthday to Justin, my nephew who turned 13. And then I talked about the cousins wearing matching shirts and our crazy golf cart rides that I kept taking them on. Like, they loved it. I would floor it. Well, and by floor it, I mean go 5 miles an hour. But fly over the speed bumps. And the girls, Nora had my phone and she was blaring K-pop Demon Hunter soundtrack, and they were just scream singing and giggling every time I went over a bump, and it was the best. So I journaled about that on the card, and then I just add a little tab to it. I'm not sure when I do, but it just says experience. And then on the back, I just added one little chipboard phrase that says long live adventures. And that's it. I kept that one simple, and I'm glad I did, because I think that's really all it needed. I did not over embellish for once. High five for me. This last page came together in 5 minutes. I mean, I already had the photos printed out. They were all from our time at dinner at Sam and Jesse's cabin and celebrating Justin's birthday. And so they're all different photos from that. You can see Nora and Justin in the top row there, and then the youngest cousin, Junior, under his little gym mat there. And lots of pictures of all of Matt and his brothers around the fire, and the girls on the back of the golf cart I was driving. So all I did was add a little journaling that just said, cherishing this first family meal around the campfire, the giggles, the dancing, the fun, #blessed. And that's it. That's going to wrap up this process video. So part 2 is complete. I hope you guys enjoyed. As per usual, you have to let me know if you have comments, questions, something you saw that maybe I forgot to mention. Like I said, I was very scatterbrained when I was filming this video, so apologies if it comes across that way at all in the process. I'm just glad I was able to edit it so that it made sense chronologically. There you can see I added the bracelet ephemera to the postcard along with the tab on top that says Sunny. I may or may not have forgot to mention things, so please, as always, feel free to comment below with any questions. I apologize again if this was a hot mess. Please do me a favor and like this video if you did, subscribe if you're not, and hit the bell so you don't miss my content. And join me next week for part 3 of this series. Take care of yourself, sweet friends, and remember that you are enough. See you next week. Bye.